Hey guys, it's Casey Cole Corbin with Dynamic Fluid Art Coaching, and I'm on here a little bit early to give you an opportunity to get on. And I'd love to first see where you're from. So where are you at in the world? I know we usually have people from Australia on these live calls, also England, depending on when I offer the calls, whether or not they're awake or not. So I've got my phone standing by to be able to show me the comments because I'm using a kind of cool, you can see the banner across the bottom here. It's called StreamYard, and I'm experimenting with it. I have played with it once before, and the sound was a little off. So I'd love to know if you guys would tell me if you can hear me okay, or if there's any kind of garbly noise at any point. If you could just put that into the comments, that would help me out a lot. I am deciding on what software to be able to use. Hey, C. Sullivan, how you doing? All right, from Colorado. All right. What part of Colorado are you in? I finished my education as a counselor at Colorado Springs. I did an internship at Focus on the Family Ministries there at Focus on the Family in Colorado Springs 30 years ago, close to that. No. I was 30, so it would have been 23 years ago. And I love the area. I loved it so much that I tried to get a job there just so I could stay. It was so great. All right. Well, let's see. Pros and cons. I see that one just says Facebook user says, hey, Casey from Orange, Texas. So I think there's some kind of like opt-in to be able to give permission to show your name. So that's one thing I don't really like about this program. And hey, Stacy. Hey, got another Facebook user that says sounds good. And see, you're in Great Florence near Canyon City. Okay, all right, well, very good. Well, while we were there, there was it was 44 of us students, and so every weekend we climbed or not really climbed a mountain, but we hiked up another mountain or another trail. It still is like a surreal experience to me in my memory, as far as being something really, really cool. I wish I had that. I keep on thinking of excuses to go back to Colorado. And so I live in South Georgia now, so it's almost the exact opposite in climate. But someday we'll come visit. Sometime I've been wanting to get my family up to Colorado for quite a while. So if you're just joining me, I'm just stalling, got on a few minutes early before we start the live webinar today. And so I'd love it if you would put into the comments where you're at, where are you viewing this from in the world. And so that's fun to look at. And then the next thing I'd really like to get as far as information from you, if you'll put it in a comment, is why are you attending? Why are you taking your time? And why did you go through that whole jump through the hoops enrollment process, put an email here, checkbox here, all that kind of stuff. What is it out of this whole 5-day week are you looking forward to the most? What are you seeking? And how can I help you? So if you can include that kind of information, even if I'm not able to notice it while I'm doing the full presentation, I will go back to it and I will make sure that I read those and look at them. That will be very important information for me. So sound check, how am I doing? How's the sound going? Can you guys hear me clearly? Is that good? Lakeland, Florida, another Facebook user from Lakeland, Florida. All right, that's not too far away. All right. And Pam, great to see. Okay, Orange, Texas. Oh, you wrote your name in. Okay, got it. So it still displays to me as a Facebook user, but you wrote your name, Pam Wimberly from Orange, Texas. Okay, that's great. Great. Okay, well, see, you always... you do pronounce your name C, like C-E-E. I am absolutely terrible at names. I'm terrible at remembering them. I am terrible at processing them. I am dyslexic, and so that doesn't help. And I am a counselor, and so that does help when it comes to confidentiality. I can keep people's information really confidential because I can't remember your name. I can't tell your stuff. Hey, Vanessa. All right, there's Vanessa. She's our rising star in the Teachers of Flow community, which is a paid group that we have. Vanessa joined us recently, and she's been doing really great and has got some really neat things going on near me in the Tallahassee area. In fact, probably joining us will be Rita. And Rita, I don't know if you know Vanessa, because you guys are both from the same area. So that'd be great. So Stacy, all right, Las Vegas. That's great. And Lee from Taylorsville, Utah. That's cool. All right, good. All right, so I think C is telling me that my sound is good. So that's good. All right. And I got a Facebook user from Waterford, Michigan. All right. Well, this StreamYard, I'm a beta tester for them, and so I get to use the program in their beta testing. But I got to tell you that I don't like that the name thing on there. There's some cool features. You'll see it here in a second whenever I share with you some of the images, so I can have a split screen going on, and so that's really functional and that's really neat. But the other part's not so great, but as far as functionality. So next time we do this, I might do it on Loom, and then the next time we do this, I might do it on Zoom. So there's lots of programs out there, so it'll be good. All right, so I'm monitoring your messages as best I can, and on both my laptop and also my cell phone. So when you guys have questions about this, please enter those questions. If I'm going to try to address them live, because I've timed my presentation. When I've practiced it, it runs about 40 minutes. With interaction like this, it's going to go 45 or so. And then with questions, of course, that's going to extend it. So I'm really good for us to go for an hour, including your questions. So I've provided for time for that. So, all right, great. All right, good. Now, Jess, I see that you're saying, super excited for all the webinars this week. New to the art form and looking to expand into a profitable business. All right, you are in the right place, Jess. That's awesome. Thank you very much for sharing your information. My pleasure. It's a real joy to do this. You know, it's really helped me a lot. Those of you that are on the What's Selling group for it's been offered for the last year and a half or so, and also the teachers of Flow, then you're probably real familiar with my story. And so you can kind of tune off and go get a drink or something like that. But about right before Christmas, 2 Christmases ago, I was fired, and I was a counselor in a program. The program had to kind of lay off, and so it was laying people off, which was unfortunate. The closed the campus and everything. But all of a sudden, a place that I had worked for 6.5 years, I never would have thought I was going to lose that job. So I'm glad now, because it's opened up really cool opportunities. I never would have left it. I was very, very, very comfortable there. I was very effective, and I enjoyed doing that. So, but I had been fascinated with the fluid art for a while and started teaching a couple of classes. I think I had taught 2 classes with really low attendance. I think I had like 3 people in one class and 4 people in another whenever I got the axe. And so I very quickly had to ramp up and turn this into something that could provide for my family. I have 4 children, so we're a family of 6. And needed to be able to provide for them. And so I started the teachers group, and that was really great. A great founders group of people were on there, and they helped me not to reinvent the wheel and be able to ramp up very quickly. After I did that, the very next class that I had was sold out, had a waiting list. I repriced everything, structured it, walked in the door. They put a check in my hand for $1,048 to do a 4-hour workshop. So that wasn't bad. So things suddenly changed whenever I needed it to. All right. Getting a lot of Facebook users instead of names. And so I see from Utah, and you're here and you're kind of new to flow art, but you love to teach. Okay, well, that's great. Well, it will not take you long to be able to do well in this. All right. Well, I see it's about 5 minutes after, and so we'll go ahead and move over to the presentation. I'm going to change the screen a little bit. I can do this with a snap. Watch this. All right, there. See how that works? Okay. It's like the clapper when you do that. Remember that old thing? Okay. And then I'm going to look over on my handout. Okay. So this is the very same handout that you guys have. I made a few edits this afternoon, so I uploaded a newer or a gooder version onto the site, and so you guys can follow along if you printed it in another screen or with me here on this screen, whatever is better for you. So let's see. First thing is the title, how to stand out and seriously establish yourself as the selling artist, and how to use art teaching to sell even more of your art. Okay. Sorry, I'm trying to get back to the comments on my phone. Okay. All right, great. If you haven't already, comment where you're from, and then 2, why is this topic important to you? Why is it of interest to you? Why are you here? I'd really love to see that. I'll remind you that we are going to do a drawing for free art supplies, and so you have to be present for the entire presentation for that. The way I'll test that is that I have some software that will pick a random person for me that has enrolled, and then I'll tell you who that is, and if they're not on here, then they don't win. So I need you to tell me quickly if that's me in the chat. Otherwise, I'll keep picking people until we get somebody who wins. And so I just wanted to share with you a testimony of Maggie. Maggie is just a wonderful person. She's a moderator on another group. She works very hard helping people in this industry understand flow art. And so she has been a part of the Dynamic Fluid Art Teaching Business Coaching Program, and she's been a paid member for the Teachers of Flow community. And so she's a wonderful person. And then I didn't even ask her to do this. She put this in before I could even get a chance to ask her to. And she says about what we've been doing over there in the free group is that, the paid group is most encouraging, inspirational, practical program around. It's not just filled with good statements, it's filled with good ideas, practical concepts, templates, and more. This program works, and you will gain more than you ever expected. So thank you, Maggie, for saying that. That is just really awesome. And we're doing this thing every day this week for 5 days. And I'm going to go ahead and tell you that I've got some news that I need to make a change about. You might see that I have a brace. You might have seen them from my previous videos too. Is that since November, I have had a trigger finger, and I need to have a trigger finger release surgery. And so guess when they called to schedule that surgery? Today. For 2 o'clock tomorrow. And I was hopeful that if they did schedule it for tomorrow, it would be early in the morning and I would still be able to do the the webinar for tomorrow. But I tell you what, the best laid plans, right? So tomorrow's, what we're going to do is instead of doing it tomorrow, we're going to just move tomorrow's thing to Saturday. So it's going to not be Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. It's going to be Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday at 3 o'clock, okay? And if any of those are bad times for you, no problem. You will be able to catch the replays, but only for a week, all right? So they evaporate off of this group in a week. So please make sure that if you're watching it, those of you that are watching the replay, make sure that you do see it in time before it goes. Every day I will load a handout onto the group that you can download and use. They have some functional links in it, so you might want to have it up on your computer. It also has some Q&A. I'm a counselor and a coach. We do homework assignments, and so they're kind of built in here. And so, great. All right, so this week, and then even speaking of announcements, on Wednesday, I'm going to announce something brand new. For many of you, you're aware of the very low-priced paid community group for Teachers of Flow Art that's been going on since the 1st of February. And now we're going to offer a new opportunity, and I'm going to make the announcements. I'm going to unveil that on Wednesday, so you're definitely going to want to be here for that. You're going to be interested in hearing about that. I know you're going to like it. So let's just look at the schedule real quick. Today, of course, we're doing Stand Out as a seriously establish yourself as a selling artist. Now this will be Saturday. We will do the 3 tactics of how to make more than $1,000 teaching flow art in a half-day workshop. And then Wednesday, that'll be our next time that I see you because of my surgery tomorrow. We'll do smart strategies to develop a pricing structure that reaches new students and maximizes profits. If you've been teaching for a while, you know that you can kind of burn out an area, an art center or a group or whatever. How do you reach a new demographic? So we're going to talk about that. And then Thursday, how to supercharge your social media efforts and book out your classes, okay? So, and then on Friday, it'll be how to get sponsored, right? So that's usually the one that people are really looking forward to. They're wanting to see that one. What is going on with these people that are just so lucky, or they're so exceptional, or whatever the deal is, that they get paint companies to send them tons and tons of paint. So people love to find out about how to do that. I'll tell you, it's not a happenstance. It's not a luck thing. It's just that you got to have your ducks in a row. You got to know what to do and how to say it. And, you know, maybe a little prep work ahead of time, but we're going to get you ready for that on Friday. Okay. So again, if you haven't already, please comment here in the group why you came today. All right. Maybe you're just wanting to, you're going to attend all 5, but really, you're really looking forward to a certain day. I'd like to hear about that. Or what is it about today that sounds real great to you? Okay. All right. So again, the replay will only be available for a week. So make sure that you get on there. You replayers that are watching me, not live. Good. Great. The whole series is being offered. We're going to have a prize that we talked about. I'll pull that at the end of the day. And we're going to have time for Q&A at the end of each topic. So I'm planning for that for you. So let's dive in today. Today is about how to stand out, seriously establish yourself as a selling artist. In the What's Selling group that I started about 1.5 years ago, there is very quickly, it's going to cross the 8,000 member mark. It's just really just taken off, just really accelerated. It hovered around 3,000 for like a half a year, and then boom, it's just kind of taken off. I don't know exactly why. It's just, I think it's part of the permanence that we're going to talk about here in a second. But from that group, I want to tell you that we're going to talk about a lot of different strategies, and I don't pretend to be an expert on every one of these strategies. I know instead, what I do is I curate content for what goes on in these groups. All right. So you can imagine me as like the spoke of the hub of 8,000 people that are contributing, you know, how they're doing it. Right. And it kind of filters through me since I approve every post as a minimum. And I like to, if the things don't really apply, I got to be honest with you, moderating that group is a lot of work. I put in well over 1,000 hours in the last year in doing that, because we'll have 10 people that will post into What's Selling, and maybe 3 of them will be appropriate posts that I'll put onto the group. So I'll be deleting more than I approve. So because I'm curating that content for you, I want you to have just the best information that is there. All right. And not this off-topic stuff that people keep posting. Very good. But preparing for today's webinar has really helped me in a secondary way, because I am speaking at the Paint International Conference in Orlando, Florida on August the 30th. And I'm teaching 4 workshops there. And one of them is on What's Selling. And so to prepare this one today really helped me out, because I had to look at a lot of the different stuff that the information that's coming through there to help people that are interested in selling their work. If you, there is a link there to be able to find that conference if you'd like to attend. Good. The usual story, I know that you probably experienced it. If not, you certainly have seen it on the pouring groups, is people become addicted to this pouring art, and all of a sudden they've got dozens and dozens of, of flow art pieces that are their spouse can't walk through the room, and the walls are full of art, and somebody close to them, maybe gently or maybe not so gently suggests that maybe you should sell. I think these are good. You should sell them. And so they need to figure out how they're going to do that. So that's what the What's Selling group is all about, is helping people to understand what it is literally selling for all over the world. And so there's a link to that group if you have not joined it yet. I've always been entrepreneurial. I love business. The facet of an entrepreneur, maybe you are one and you don't know it yet. Basically, an entrepreneur looks at a situation, finds the problems or finds the holes, the gaps, and they come up with a niche, a solution, a way to bridge that gap for somebody, a way to solve problems for people. And so as I looked and saw all these people joining the selling group, I also noticed some things that wasn't so great too, what I learned from there. And these people are joining the selling group because they're making all this art. They want to make a profit with it. They don't know how. But what I found was is that over 90% of the people that were posting what they sold and how much they sold it for and how they were selling it, it's the rules of what's selling group, is that they did not sell it for very much money at all, and the sales were very slow. And then there's this upper 5-10% artists that are selling their fluid art at incredibly wonderful prices, just 10 to 20 times more than what the average person was selling theirs for. And so what we want to do today, the big takeaway is that we want to understand at least the difference in mindset of what I'm going to call the high performing artists and the low performing artists. All right. Now, I've been both, and so no shame in that. And I think we all start, somewhere and then grow up. So what we want to do is kind of wrap our brains around what is the mindset that it takes to be a high performing artist, meaning that you sell at really good prices, not just recouping your costs so you can do this again, next weekend. Okay. So we would really love it if our art sold itself. Everybody does. All right. Particularly introvert personality styles like myself. Right. I see my sister-in-law in here, Autumn. She's an introvert personality style as well. We have and she teaches as well. Whenever I teach, like I'm doing right now, that is outside of my comfort zone. I would rather not do it, but you know what? I had to learn it. I had to grow and get outside my comfort zone. I had to work really hard to get new skills to be able to do that. And so we're up for the same thing. We're going to do the same thing at selling our art too. Okay, we'd love for it to sell it itself, but usually the only artists that happen for are dead. After they're dead, they're no longer selling their art. Somebody else is selling their art. So until then, you've got to be an active part. You've got to participate in that. You got to understand that really the inherent nature of the artist really shows up in the art. And so we'll talk more about that in a second. But people that buy your art have a connection with the person that created the art. You may not have thought of things that way before, but let's look at even some of the giants, right? Even the dead ones, like Van Gogh. Van Gogh is probably the go-to, pun intended, artist. Most people think about him when they think about the giants. The media, the paint and canvas is really an expression of who he was, maybe even the mood that he was in whenever he made it. And you might be thinking to yourself, wow, Casey, I don't know what I signed up for with these webinars here. I mean, I just pour paint. I am no Van Gogh. And I'm with you. I'm not either. But let's think this through, okay? Great artists like Van Gogh picked colors. Do you pick colors? And why do you pick those colors? Take Van Gogh's Haystack, classic, right? And when you look at these colors, there is just something, it might resonate differently with different people, but there is just something happy about this to me. I like it. It's warm. It's comfortable. It's like a mood washes over me that I would like to believe that Van Gogh was in at the time. He also has some very depressed work too, which is also a neat inspiration. And sometimes I like to connect with that, those what we might call negative emotions too, sad, even mad. So the expression takes on a form of color and style and emotion, and it all represents a personality. In this case, Van Gogh, a person to connect to. As my friend and mentor Matt Tommy says, people don't buy art because they need it. They buy it because of connection. Let me say that again. People don't buy art because they need it. They buy it because of connection. Because of one person connecting to another person, even through the media of many different forms of art. That's a relationship. Think about it this way too. Is great artists like Van Gogh would scrape off parts they didn't like. They'd start over, they'd throw away, they'd paint over. And do you do that with pouring? Yes, we all do. But why? Why do you make the decision as far as what you like and what you don't like, what you keep and what you get rid of? That tells us a little something about you. It's kind of like a little bit of you goes into your art and it shows. And the viewer can connect with that. They can connect with you. If you've ever taught this art form, I hope you have, to a room full of students, it's always amazing to me is that after they're done, you kind of sit back and look at it as it's drying there on the tables, maybe after they've left. And you look at the painting, and I know you've had this thought too, is that you look at how different they are from each other's. All of the students had access to the very same paints and supplies, but they all created something totally unique. And to take that a step further, you can even look, and even with people that just walked in the door, I remember one of my classes, he was a doctor, a surgeon, and he hadn't painted since 7th grade. He was close to retirement age now. And his wife was pushing him to get into some creative expression. He loved the class. He went bananas over it. And you could see at where he was working on his table, all of his pieces had a current theme, a thread that you could see through them. Maybe it was about the choices of colors that they pick, or maybe how over manipulated or under manipulated. But their style started to emerge there, and you could see that in their work, how different that they were. We call this your artist voice. And I know that you had this experience too, that you've just been scrolling down Facebook or maybe Instagram, and you could, without even noticing who posted it or the name, you could go, oh, I know who that is. That's Sandra Lett. I won't even attempt, okay, we'll attempt her last name. Trump letterer, Sandra Lett, okay. I could be scrolling down and I could see, and Sandra's I can see a mile away. She does a lot of different things, but her style comes, her artist voice shows through in such a beautiful way. I love her work. Your artist voice is one of the most important things that you can focus on and spend your energies, time, and resources to develop. While your artist voice is ever changing, getting it established is what separates you from the hobbyist, the temporary artist, and the craft worker. So here's some questions. I want you to take some inventory of yourself, okay? So I'd love for you to answer them, not necessarily in the chat, but you could answer them on the handout, maybe now or maybe later. And if you're brave enough, this is going to take a lot of courage, is that you can ask other people these questions about you too. See, that's the difference between subjective information and objective information. Subjectively, I'm asking myself something and I'm talking about myself to myself. Objective information is that you're getting outside input from someone else. And so if you're brave enough, you can get that too. Here's some of the questions, all right? Is your work craft or art? We got to go there. I'm sorry. Big debates on a lot of the groups every once in a while, and people get hair-legged fits over people asking, do you really think this is art? Right? I think it's a valid question, right? It is okay for art to be technique-driven. I think that's bona fide, in my opinion, that's bona fide great art, right? Can be. But if it's just looks like wallpaper, if it just looks like a tile design or something, what is the art nature of it? In other words, how is your artistic voice being expressed in what you create? And that's the difference, I think, between it being a craft form or an art form. Are you operating as a hobbyist? Are you operating as an artist? So these are two very different mindsets, and I got a whole list of questions for you to consider which one of these that you believe that you are. The last question we want to hit right now is, are you a stable and consistent artist? Or is this just a fad for you? Is it just something that you're just into right now? And maybe like many other things in the past, you went through these phases, and now you've got to give away or get rid of or have at a yard sale, your scented oils and soaps and candle making and whatever else it was for you. Now, please don't hear me wrong. I am not discrediting any of those things. As someone who counsels people, particularly with anxiety, I very much encourage people to develop interest and develop hobbies. All right, that's great. If that's you, there is no shame in just admitting that and saying, this is the thing that I'm in right now. I would love to sell my art for $35, $45, just kind of buy new paint to be able to paint again next weekend. I don't know that I'm really into this whole next level artist stuff. Great, okay? That is super fine. Not a thing wrong with that. But just kind of know where you are, know who that is, and probably what I'm going to be teaching here in this webinar is not for you. And so, it's okay to, go over to another page now and look around if you want to. I'm not kicking you off. Or maybe you can stick around if you still have a curiosity about it and go, maybe I could think a little bit differently. Maybe I could take this to the next level. Maybe I'm the first person that ever have asked you these questions and asked you to think about What are the possibilities of this in the future? Again, there's absolutely no wrong answer to any of these questions. It's all just your choices. But it's much better to make an informed choice, to be able to be consciously aware of and thinking about where is this going and what do I want it to be. Okay? All right. So here's just a rule of thumb for the way that the high-performing artists, the way that they see the world, okay? When someone, and think about your patrons or the people that buy your art, right? Your customers, right? When someone invests big dollars into a piece of art, it's also like they're investing into the artist's career. Now, if that piece matches, if a piece matches their sofa, they're willing to pay hundreds of dollars and not really consider, you know, your name or really who you are. But if they want to invest in an artist with an eye of their future, just the same way that, you know, people that invest in stock or real estate, they're looking for the return on investment, the ROI, right? Then they will invest thousands of dollars. They might even name drop whenever they show off your art in their house or in their business, whenever they have visitors. They mention things. They mention you. They want a connection to you. And they might even say things, well, like I own, you know, this piece, or I knew that they were going somewhere, or, oh, are you just now getting one? Well, I've had a Corbin original for years. They may not be that snobby about it. And maybe they're not even externally saying anything like that. Maybe it's just an internal, like, I knew that this artist was going somewhere. And that's what they're willing to pay. That's where they're going to move that decimal point over one or two spaces there instead of hundreds, thousands. All right. Good. Is that making sense to everybody? Yeah. So the next set of questions is, let's consider, how are high producers marketing? What are they doing differently than maybe we've done before? How are they establishing themselves as an artist that has authority so that investors want to invest? Good. Just saw a typo in there. That's me and my dyslexia, so y'all be patient with me. All right, so since the goal is to be more like these high-producing artists, what is their mindset? How do we acquire it? And how will that new success mindset help us to be able to make different decisions regarding, and here's a list of things, okay? One is, in your creative process and your thinking, are you doing it like a business? So high performance artists are thinking like a business. Where is the place that this is going to go? What is the market for this piece, right? How are they building relationships with partners? Now, some of the smartest artists I know have really great relationships with people like interior designers. Hey, those are people that you want on your team, right? Art centers, galleries. What is your connection to them? How do you maintain your rapport with them and your relationship with them, right? All relationships is like marriage. They take work, right? The next section is using technology and social media. Now, we're going to talk a lot more about this on Thursday. So there's a way to do that is a lot more personable, such as like what we're doing today. There's a phenomenon that has taken place in this world. We're going to talk more about this on Thursday, which is that you can buy a camera now that takes better video than the cameras in Hollywood of just a few years ago for about $1,000, right? So the tech is there. You can have editing software for the price of a dinner at a mediumly priced restaurant somewhere. So, you know, as now everybody has access to something that used to be just Coca-Cola and Walmart and Amazon, you know, that had the millions and millions of dollars of marketing budget. Now we can do that too. And a phenomenon has taken place, and with everything has kind of reversed, is that now that anybody can do that, now a low-tech, high-touch marketing is a lot more, it gets people's attention. It can be a video like this one, where I'm not using a bunch of fancy slides and not using two cameras that I'm turning towards, or a lot of staged work, right? Where it's low-tech, but a little bit more personable. And people connect to that, they trust more, and it works better for you. And so as you sell your art and sell your art teaching classes, Keep that in mind. That is what is going on with marketing today. Good. Let's talk a little bit about commission artwork. Commissions is something that really it's debated. It's a lot of artists will not do any commission work. Some love to do commission work, and some need a balance between the two. And that's really, for me, it's about I have a 2-year degree in commercial art, and so in commercial art, you're working with somebody and they say, I want the logo to be yellow here and green here, and I want this wing to be bigger or whatever. And in commercial art, you say yes, sir, and you do it usually nowadays on computer, and so it's very much driven by the person who's buying the art. So I have no problem doing that. I'm in the middle of a commission piece right now that's going to go into a coffee shop in Nashville, Georgia, and I send updates and pictures to the person that has commissioned the work, and she's giving me responses like, well, I would like for this section to be bigger, and I'd like for this thing to be less pronounced, and I can make those changes. I can do those things, right? I don't mind that. Probably has something to do with the discipline of art that I had early on. But I will say that there's always got to be some space in my life, because I want to be able to have a time where I just do what I want to, right? Without trying to satisfy anybody. And Stacey, I see your comment there. You don't do commissions because it's too stressful. Well, I can understand that. I don't mind it. I kind of like it. And in some ways, it pushes me to become even more creative, to simultaneously meet their demands and yet also at the same time express my creativity, right? So I'm not just their hands doing something, but it's got a piece of me in there too. So I like that challenge whenever it comes to commission work. But you got to figure that out for you. What's the balance? I know some artists that will do no more than 2 commission works a month, and that's it, right? And some of them are like booked out 18 months in the future because they cannot find themselves the energy, the emotional fortitude, whatever it takes to be able to do more than 2 a month. Well, good for them. All right, they know where they fit. They know what their limitations are, and that's great. How do the high-performing artists, how do they view things like art shows or craft fairs, exhibitions and art competitions? How do they view them differently? How do they see them as an opportunity that's more than just the sales that I might make that day? How I'm passing out business cards, I'm talking about things, I'm working maybe on some commission work, or I'm working on some bigger pieces that I might be able to get a larger than what I'm able to carry into an art in the park and put underneath my canopy, right? That, your sales may not be that great, that day, but, this is the way that we market. This is the way that we establish your presence in people's lives. This is how you validate that you are an artist that has skill and you have permanence and you're here, and that you can do work for people in the future, or that they can just raise their awareness, right? It's like the old marketing for Coca-Cola. They said it takes someone to see your logo or your name 6 times before they see it for the first time. We have to see things repeatedly again and again and again before we even let it register that, oh, this is somebody that I need to take notice of. Good. And then nurturing your customer, building your list. All right, why did I make you give me your email address in my software before able to come to this website and jump through all those hoops? I want your email address. I'm building my list. Yes, that is what that's for. And I have other lists for my students that have attended my classes, and they're all sorted by town. The people in Valdosta are on one list. The people in Thomasville are on another list. The people in St. Simons are on another list, Albany, etc. And so whenever I'm going to be going there or doing a class there, I am marketing to that select group of people. And so when I recently did an art in a park and did a cool, fun mini art lessons where we did spin art for a walk-up kind of make and take situation. And I had a email list for people to sign up for, so that next time that we're in that area, or I can market to them. And I plan on doing some digital teaching soon. And so I'll send that to everybody, because it doesn't matter where they are in the world. All right. So how do we nurture our customer? How do we build a relationship that is long-term, right? I want people that have bought my art now to be buying my art 10 years from now, okay? Art residencies. You may not have heard of those. An art residency, it's evolved from what it initially meant to something a little bit more modern. And so the idea now is that you can go for a week or 2 weeks or maybe a month and go to a cool place. And during that time, you're working, man. You're making art, you're displaying art, you are demonstrating, and you are teaching art classes perhaps. And that is the residency opportunity that you have there. And so you can look up art residencies in your area, or if there's areas that you want to go visit. If you're not really tied to an area, or you haven't really started a family yet, for example, or you're retired, that can be a great opportunity to, and they pay you for it, and they set up everything. And frequently you get, housing, with that too, So that's a really cool opportunity to be able to, I've never done that. I would love to do that in the future. The next part is about licensing your work. And here's a little fun exercise for you. The next time that you're in Target, TJ Maxx, any of those kinds of stores, right? That you go into the little specialty sections and you pick up the packaging and you look at it, all right? Now, one thing, have you noticed that we're seeing flow art on product packaging that has nothing to do with, making flow art anymore? That's pretty cool, isn't it, right? When you do that, or if you find some packaging for something that's very similar to, where you just kind of think, I think my art and my style would work well with this company. Take your phone out and take a picture of their information that's on that box of macaroni noodles or whatever it might be. And then go home and get on their website and pursue, and maybe find the right person to contact and send them some pictures of your art and say, I think that my art style would work very well with your products, and I would like to enter a licensing agreement with you to use my art. And you never know what's going to come of that. That's probably one of those things. Some people that I've heard of, average they send out about 20 of those kind of inquiries, and maybe get, one or two that contact them back because they're busy folks, right? But that can be something that now you're not even selling the original art, you're selling an image of the art. And you can just go by your Kinko's or Copy Place and have them slap your art on their scanner and get a high res, and then you send it off, you sign a licensing agreement, and now you're making money from your art in a brand new way. All right, so this is the way that professional artists or high-performing artists look at things maybe differently than maybe you or I have looked at before. Let's talk about something that I do have a little bit of experience with. Let's see, C says, licensing, you have 2 pieces. That's great, C. That's wonderful. All right, I'd love to hear more about that. Authoring a book. This used to be such a big deal, and now it is so easy. But still, the majority of people don't know that it is so easy to author a book. That they're still impressed with that. And there's a new movement on Amazon called low content books. All right. And so they're mostly pictures, or they're mostly like journaling books that have lots of spaces, or even adult coloring books are called low content books. But also is the idea of a coffee table book that might be full of your art images. Now that would be amazing, right? That'd be great for you. And so consider authoring a book. One I did 7 years ago it was using fluid art. It was using pouring, but it was very, very primitive at the time. I didn't know about additives back then to make cells and all that stuff. And I just used it when I was doing group art therapy with my clients. And so I marketed that book, and still sells today, to clinicians all over the world. And I'll be teaching it again this summer in Marietta, Georgia, on teaching group art therapy. And the book, called Create, has several projects in it. And I get to, now when I put it, it's on my CV, my resume, when I apply to speak at places, that you are an author, it makes a difference, all right? And all it is a Kindle or Amazon book, right? That you upload it's not too much harder than creating a Word document that you upload to Amazon and they print on demand. All right, so it is pretty easy. And if you don't want to do all that, all right. Oh, Kathy, you have a coffee table book? That's awesome. All right, I'd love to see that. I bet it's beautiful. I know that you do really, really good digital work, so I bet you it looks great. But even if you don't do good digital work, there's people on Fiverr.com that for a very little bit of money, I'm talking about like 20 bucks, you email them your pictures, you email them some of the verbiage that you want on there, they'll assemble it together, have it completely ready to upload into, it's called, they just changed the name from CreateSpace to KPD, I think it is, which is the Kindle Publishing something. Easy to find. It's just if you want to have an Amazon book, you can do that. Easy, and it establishes yourself as an authority. It establishes some permanence. It establishes the fact that you are an artist that should be invested in. Okay, it's relatively easy to do. All right, good. Or you can also create a course or a membership site. All right, so I've created membership sites. They're wonderful to do. They're interactive. I've considered recently doing some courses. But they get outdated so easily today that really a more interactive membership site is a whole lot better way to go. I'll talk about it here in a second, but the survey that's on the What's Selling group had incredible responses from people. They told me all kinds of things that I never even considered that would come up on the What's Selling page. Some great stuff too, some great ideas. And so if you haven't filled out that survey yet, there is a link right here in the handout, and so you can get that when you download the handout. And then it goes offline tomorrow, and so what are we in, April 30th, I'm going to shut it down, and then I'll be able to look at all of the different findings and see what we're going to do from research. Our plan for that is to offer value to you as a fluid artist, and so we're gathering all this information from the survey, and preparing some things specifically for the people that are selling fluid art on there. Some great information. The last thing that I almost missed up here was pricing. There's all kinds of formulas for pricing. There's some that I like, and there's some that I totally disagree with. That's for me. You got to make those same decisions, but you just got to price consistently. You got to have a rhyme and a reason for how you price, and then stick to that. I don't mean that your prices shouldn't grow, because they should be. I mean, even just with inflation, you should be charging more for your art than you were charging 5 years ago for your art. But it needs to have something consistent and maybe even logical that you can explain to people about why you price the way that you do. All right. Okay, well, we're doing smack dab on the time there. Good. And so, because we're about 43 minutes in, so that's good. We're about to wrap up. The biggest thing, and you already saw this coming, and the secret to getting instant credibility is to teach. Start offering classes. Start offering classes at your local art center. I teach at Hobby Lobby, here in town. I teach at art centers all over, 6 different art centers all over the place. When I go on a planning vacation, I call the art center in that area and I arrange to do a class. And so now when I travel, all my vacations are paid for by my business and are tax deductible. All the expenses are for me, and my family happen to stay with me in the same hotel room. So it's a great way of being able to do your art business smart, right? So think about that. Teaching instantly answers those questions. And one is, if do you have art skill? And then 2, are you professional? And also, are you going to be sticking around in the art world? And so that tells investors more about you. That gets on their radar, if you will. I used to just sell art, and now I teach art and sell art, and I sell more art now that I'm teaching than I did when I just focused on selling art. The art world takes notice. It kind of looks up and sees, Casey Cole Corbin is teaching a class in Albany Museum of Art. They notice that. And if you get known for your niche or niche, depending on where you are, how you pronounce that, of doing a certain style of art, then people will think about you. whenever they have a project, and they will contact you or a certain desire. So they say it this way, the riches are in the niches. So if you specialize, and of course today we're really specializing within fluid art, that can become a lot more specialized within the banner of fluid art. But the art world will notice. And so being a teacher means being an expert. It is just assumed. If you're teaching, you're an expert. It establishes that you're sticking around, you're worthy of respect, and you can be known as the flow artist. And so we're going to talk a lot more about being a successful flow artist tomorrow. And then the free, I'm sorry, not about tomorrow. This is a good opportunity for me to announce it by who joined us. Best laid plans go astray, right? So I have been, since November, I have needed surgery on this hand. And so they called me today after lunch and said, be here at 2 o'clock tomorrow. So that's going to wipe out the opportunity that I have for doing the webinar tomorrow. Don't worry. We're just going to take Tuesday's webinar and we're going to move it over to Saturdays. And for Saturday at 3 o'clock. So if there's any problem where you can't make it, no big deal. The replay of this one will be instantly available as soon as I sign off on it, and they will be available for a week. So after a week, they will evaporate. So make sure, and particularly if you're watching this on the replay right now, that you are watching, that you get to it, get back here and watch it before it expires, okay? All right, so I am just kind of going to be looking through my phone here for any kind of questions. And so I tell you, something that would help me out is if you would post questions now, and then it'd be at the end there. And so, okay, well, I love it that C has got some commission work. All right. I tell you, while I'm continuing to look for that too, I'm going to go ahead and draw the winner. So I don't want anybody to sign off yet, because then you won't win. Okay. So let me move over to my cool software for that. I would show you, but it won't let me. Only once. All right. And of course, 18 people have sent me private messages that are now on my way. Okay, well, that is taking its time. Good. Going into my social relationship manager and choosing the choose winner. And today's winner is Sharon Bentley. Sharon Bentley, are you on here? Give you a minute to say, I am here. If anybody knows Sharon and she's not on here, then you just give her heck for missing it. Very good. Okay, Brenda, you say that the replay, you hope this replay is available for a few days so you can rewatch it a couple times. Yeah, you know, I'm really into that. Whenever something is really packed full of information, I like to go over it several times. I even like to let it play in the background while I do other things. It just helps me to be able to learn by osmosis a little bit better. The software that I'm using, it took me a year to really wrap my brain around it. And so I've probably watched about 300, I'm not exaggerating, videos on how to use the 22 Social software. And a lot of that time, I'm just letting it play in the background while I'm doing other things so that my brain can just get accustomed to the techie terminology that they have there. All right. Sunny, you say, for me, it's a lifestyle that I've been painting since the age of 6 years old. Great. Good. Just trying to learn how to be better at what I do and to be well known. And I'm open to learn to be a better artist. That is great. Good. Real good. All right. So let's see. Hey, Gina, I didn't realize that you were on here. Okay. And Gina says, I'm just kind of starting at the bottom. Also, do you have a specific proposal template for that? Okay, let's see. All right, I think I have to go up and say, what's usually the time frame between reaching out to an art center and teaching for them? You know, I've had totally different experiences with that. Let me tell you about the best way of doing that, which I'm sure I'll say it again later this week, is ironically, I told you that right before I was fired, I taught a class that had 3 people in it. And it was in Moultrie, a little town that I no longer teach in because it's too little. But one of those 3 people were from Albany. and she just went ape over the fluid art, just like we did. She just went crazy over it. And we all went to lunch together. And so we were sitting at lunch. I find out that she is like best friends with the education director at Albany Museum of Art. And so I'm like, oh, can you hook a brother up? And she's and she texts her friend at lunch, right? And so her friend and I get together and we schedule a class the next month. And so that's where it's not what you know, it's who you know. And so you make these connections with people, and that can fast track these whole processes, right? So I don't think that there is like I don't think I've had a usual answer to that. It's just been that doors were opened, I walked through them as quickly as I could, taking advantage of every opportunity that I can. And just talking with people. Just even though I'm an introvert personality style, I'm because I'm a counselor, you know, I talk with people pretty easily. And so I can that's not hard for me to do. It's something that you can, if you're introverted or extroverted. Gina, I know you're extroverted. But just make those human connections to people that can make the decision. That just that moves quickly. Probably, to give you an average response is that if you go there and they don't have any problem with it, you know, it probably takes a month to build for marketing. Keep in mind that these places, these art centers have thousands of people on their email list. And so that's what you're going for there. You're not going for the location, you're going for the list. The classrooms can be nice, and it's great that they have facilities that are beneficial, and you can get paint on the floor maybe, and nobody throws a fit. But it's not the location, it's the list of people that they have. That is what makes or breaks your career as teaching art. So great question. I'm glad that you asked that. Good. Laura's been wondering about my finger. Thank you. That's very sweet of you. It should. They're just going to go in, and the recovery should be instantaneous. And so I am very, because it's painful. I sit down 3 times a day right now since November. So I am really looking forward to this surgery. That's kind of crazy to say, isn't it? Good. All right. All right, looks like that's Nan's having a little bit of a problem with this frozen screen. Maybe it's working now, and some mute issues. Okay, I'm not immediately seeing any other questions, so we can wrap up. One more thing. Good, so we've done our drawing. We've talked about this week. If you're joining us late, I'm sorry to say I will not be able to do the live tomorrow, but we're going to move it to Saturday because I'm having a little surgery, a little outpatient surgery on my finger. So I'm looking forward to that. So let's see. Did Sharon Bentley, are you on here? Did she respond? Sharon Bentley, I don't see her on here. Does anybody see Sharon? All right, I'm going to pick somebody else. All right, so I'm going to close this one. I'll pick another winner. See who it is. It is Sheila Arndt. ARNDT from LaGrange, Florida, California, excuse me. Are you on here, Sheila? I want you guys to give these people heck. You signed up for this and you missed if you're not on here. All right. And I'll pick one more as just a backup, and then if neither of these respond, I'll choose another one and I'll post on here from those of you. So make sure that if you have not made any kind of comment that you do before you go, because that'll be proof that you're on here. That'll be a way for me to be able to see. And then if you are the winner, then I want you to private message me the address that you want some free art supplies sent to. And I want to say congratulations to you. So not seeing where Shelly Arndt, ARNDT. I can't pronounce that. Okay. All right. So we're going to do one more with the software. It'll be somebody who's here. And that's Karen Bali, B-A-I-L-L-I-E. And she is from Australia, so she's probably asleep right now. So, oh, wait. Says, oh, you say you're here. Okay. All right. Well, we'll get the winner sorted out later. I want to thank you guys for attending today. And check my notes and make sure that there's nothing else I want to do today. All right. Remember that before so if you like this and you want to stay tuned to just read your emails as I send you, remember to download tomorrow, Wednesday's handout that'll be available to you. And I would really, really love it if you would invite some more people to attend. So that would be great. And then Wednesday will be the next time that we meet, and I'll have the special announcement for you about some really cool opportunities that we will have be able to offer to you very, very soon. All right. So I'm going to sign off. Thanks. I'll go through the list if I've missed any questions, and I'll answer them in the chat. See you on Wednesday.